Ever get that feeling like when your phone's autocorrect tries to fix something that it's secretly judging your grammar?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's like basic AI at work, right?
It is, very much so.
But get this. You've sent us a whole stack of articles, and they're about something called Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, this stuff is next-level AI. Autocorrect is going to look like child's play after this.
It is true. What we're seeing with Transformers is really a whole different way for AI to process information, especially when it comes to language.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Okay.
So first things first, what are these Transformers? They sound kind of sci-fi, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Imagine a neural network
Nope.
that can actually read a whole sentence at once. Not just word by word, but it can understand the entire context in a way that's very similar to how humans do it. And that's kind of the magic of Transformers.
Okay, so hold on. You said context.
Yeah,
That seems to be a key word here.
it is.
Because one of the articles mentioned self-attention. What is that all about?
Oh, you're catching on quickly.
Well, you know, I try.
Self-attention is really interesting. Imagine giving an AI the ability to focus on every part of a sentence at the same time,
Okay.
figuring out how each part relates to the others, which ones matter more, which ones don't. Like, think about being in a really noisy room and you're trying to have a conversation with a friend.
Right.
Your brain's really good at tuning out all the background noise so you can just focus on what your friend is saying.
Exactly.
Self-attention is kind of like that for AI.
So instead of like a robot, reading word, this AI is
Yes.
actually getting the entire gist of a sentence.
Exactly. You got it.
That's amazing.
And that changes everything, especially when you're trying to get AI to understand the way that humans actually talk.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, can be pretty messy sometimes.
Oh, tell me about it. Like, how many times have you gotten a text message and you totally misread the tone?
All the time. Happens to me all the time.
Right. This sounds like it's a game changer if it can solve that problem.
It is. And you know what else is cool? This ability to deal with so much information at once, it's led to these language models, these LLMs that everyone's talking about.
Right.
You heard of GPT-3?
Oh, yeah. Isn't that the one that wrote like a whole screenplay a while back?
Exactly.
And people were freaking out about how good it was.
They were. Because it was really good. And you know what? GPT-3 wouldn't exist without Transformers.
Wow.
It was trained on something like 45 terabytes of data.
Okay, I have no idea what that means.
That's like feeding a computer 2.5 million books worth of information.
No wonder it can write a screenplay. So hold on.
Yeah.
We're talking AI that can generate human-like text, compose music, write different kinds of creative content.
And that's just the start.
Get out of here.
The way Transformers process information has opened up so many doors.
So it's not just about writing screenplays and stuff.
Oh, not even close.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because these articles you sent, they mentioned Transformers being used for some pretty wild stuff.
Yeah.
DNA analysis, protein structures. It's like we're not just talking about language anymore. We're talking about, like, the building blocks of life.
I know, right? It's one of the most exciting things about this technology. It can be applied to so many different fields.
Okay, so it's not science fiction. This is really happening.
Oh, it's definitely happening. Scientists are using Transformers to analyze genetic sequences, predict how proteins will fold, even design new drugs.
Okay, got to give me an example. How does this work in, like, drug discovery?
So let's talk about protein folding for a second.
Okay.
Proteins, they're these complex molecules, right? And they need to fold into very specific shapes to function correctly.
Right.
And when they misfold,
Yeah.
big problems. Like, that's implicated in a ton of diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, the list goes on.
Yeah.
But figuring out how a protein is going to fold, that's a huge challenge. It takes a ton of computing power.
Yeah, I bet.
But this is where Transformers come in. They can actually predict these protein structures with crazy accuracy, much faster than we could ever do it before.
So instead of spending years and tons of money trying to understand these proteins,
Exactly.
we can use Transformers to get quicker and more accurate results.
You got it. And think about what that means for developing new drugs and therapies.
Yeah.
Imagine designing drugs that target the misfolded proteins directly,
Wow.
potentially preventing or even reversing these diseases.
That's incredible. No wonder you're so fired up about this. It's like we're on the verge of a medical revolution powered by AI.
I think so. And the best part is, this is just one example.
Right.
We're seeing similar breakthroughs in all sorts of fields. Material science, they're using Transformers to design new materials with specific properties. Climate science, they're using them to model complex climate patterns.
Okay, so Transformers are already changing the game in a bunch of different fields.
Yeah.
But how do they compare to, like, the old AI?
Hmm.
The articles mentioned RNNs and CNNs. I'm going to be honest, I kind of glazed over those parts.
Okay, so think of it this way. RNNs, or recurrent neural networks, they're kind of like reading a book one word at a time. You're trying to understand the current word based on the ones you just read.
Okay.
So you're relying on the sort of like short-term memory.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they're good for certain things, like sequential data, like text.
Yeah.
But they struggle with longer sentences, more complex relationships between words.
Right. You lost in the weeds a little bit.
Exactly. Now, CNNs, convolutional neural networks, they're kind of like looking at a painting one tiny section at a time. They're really good at finding patterns in visual data, recognizing objects in an image, that kind of thing.
Right.
But they can miss the bigger picture, the overall context.
So where do Transformers come in? They sound different.
They are. Imagine being able to see the entire book or the whole painting all at once.
Okay.
You're understanding every relationship, every connection simultaneously. That's what Transformers can do, thanks to this self-attention we were talking about. They process information in parallel, so they see the whole picture, not just the individual pieces.
So it's not just about speed. It's a completely different way of processing information altogether.
Exactly.
No wonder it's having such a big impact.
And that brings us to the really exciting part, the rock stars of the Transformer world.
Okay, let's hear it.
We're talking about the GPT family, BERT, BART, GPT-3. They're like the Avengers of AI.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me the rundown. What makes each one special?
Well, BERT is all about understanding. It's incredible at picking up the nuances of language, those subtle differences in meaning, the context of a sentence.
So, like, if I needed to analyze a bunch of customer reviews to see if people actually like my product.
BERT's your guy.
Okay, got it.
Now, GPT-3, on the other hand, it's the creative one. It's all about generating human-quality text. You know those AI writing tools that can write you a poem in the style of Shakespeare?
Yeah?
GPT-3.
Wow.
Or compose a catchy pop song? GPT-3.
That's wild.
It all comes down to the massive amount of data it was trained on. We're talking billions of words, a huge range of human knowledge and writing styles.
Which makes me think, when you have AI this powerful,
Yeah.
are there ethical concerns? Should we be worried about this?
It's a great question, and it's definitely something that researchers and developers are thinking about a lot right now. As AI gets more sophisticated, we need to make sure we're using it responsibly.
Right, because with great power comes great responsibility. Right.
Exactly.
It's like we're kind of entering this weird zone now
Yeah,
where it's hard to tell what's human creativity and what's AI.
totally.
Kind of exciting, but kind of creepy too, right?
Yeah, it's both. And it brings up some really big questions, like how do we even define creativity when AI is in the picture?
Right.
What happens to art, literature, music?
Big, big questions. And it seems like Transformers are right at the center of all this.
Yeah.
So, for all our listeners out there, everyone who just came along on this wild ride through the world of Transformers, what's the main thing we should take away from all of this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Transformers are not just some fad. They're not going to disappear next week.
Right.
This is a fundamental shift in how we're approaching AI, how we're teaching computers to understand and process information.
It's not just making AI a little bit smarter, it's like a whole different way of thinking.
Exactly. And like we've been talking about, this has the potential to change everything. Scientific research, healthcare, how we interact with technology every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a future where AI could be analyzing incredibly complex data, creating art and music, even helping us solve some of the world's biggest problems.
Wow. It's kind of mind-blowing that it all goes back to these things called Transformers.
It is.
Like, we unlocked some hidden potential in AI that we didn't even know was there.
And what makes it so cool is that even with all the details in these articles, we're still just scratching the surface.
Right. Which leads us to our final thought. Something to leave everyone with as they go about their day.
Okay.
You know, all these articles we looked at, they focus on what's happening right now.
Right now, yeah.
Which is amazing.
It is.
But what about the future? What happens when we combine this technology with other AI advancements?
Ooh, good question.
Could we be looking at AI that doesn't just mimic us, but actually understands the world the same way we do,
Wow.
with all the good, the bad, the complicated mess of it all?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah, something to think about. Well, we'll leave you all with that thought.
Lots to ponder.
This has been quite a deep dive into the world of Transformers. We learned a lot.
Me too.
Hope you did too. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, And as always, stay curious.